right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory be unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Makar Quadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone that rule well. Peace, salutations, and blessings be unto the hopeful elect, pushing his truth in sincerity throughout the four corners of the globe, in the sincere hopes of being delivered in these last days. All right, this is the Baba Yakanan from the GMS England branch. And as you can see here, I want to do a brief lesson, a brief update, concerning the MOTB, all right? The prophecy that us here at Great Millstone, teach so aggressively in the spirit, because we're in that time, okay? And Lord willing, all right, as we've said before, 2026 seems to be a year that they're going to heavily push this technology, upon the earth. And if it's not fulfilled in 2026, then we definitely know for sure there's going to be, key and substantial groundwork that's going to be fulfilled, for its operation, all right, in the very near future. So Lord willing, 2026 be the year that it's made mandatory, all right? It's highly possible, okay, because we're living in a very serious time. Now it says here, BusinessInsider.com, it says Elon Musk plans high volume production of Neuralink brain CHIPs and says he wants to automate the surgical procedure, okay? Now this particular news came out, I would say a few days ago. I believe this article is dated 1st of January 2026, all right, which we're now in. But there was another article that came out, I would say mid 2025, going into the same type of information. But now they're saying that they want to automate, the surgical procedure, okay, which makes perfect sense because there's going to be so many people that's going to be taking this technology within themselves for fear of being cut off, from society, that they're going to need, automated, surgical procedures to keep up with the demand. Okay, now when we go to Revelation, got it right here, chapter 3 and verse 10, what does it say? It says, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. Okay, so you have so many different nations, all right, upon the earth that are trialing out, this digital currency, all right, because they're getting ready ultimately to transform their society and the way that things are conducted, upon the earth, okay? And these grids, all right, that are going to be in operation upon the earth, they're going to totally be digitized. So it's going to be a state of a digital, prison. So if you don't have that technology within yourself, if you don't have the mark, okay, you're not going to be able to work. You're not going to be able to go to the supermarket. You're not going to be able, to have, send your children, to the full system. Okay, anything in society you're doing now is going to require that you be a validated person of the beast system if you want to take part. That's where the world is heading. Okay, and that's why, again, so many nations upon the earth are, trialing out, these pilot systems and these digital systems to massage the minds of the people, to become accustomed to this new way of living, this new way of beast system living, man. Okay? So again, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation. That's why it's going to be a heavy time of temptation upon the earth, because people are going to have to pick a side. Okay? You're literally going to have to pick a side, and that's where your faith in Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai is going to be tested. Okay? Do you really believe that Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai is going to look after you in time of, extreme tribulation such as this? Do you have that faith? Okay? Do you have the spirit within you to deny, the beast system and to wait upon, the saving power of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai, all right? Each and every single one of us, all right, that's in this faith is going to be met, with that decision, okay? But the beautiful thing is, Yahweh Shem Shai, he's been training us up, all right, by having us do these videos, by having us, digest the reality of what's coming and preparing ourselves in the spirit to reject this, man, all right? Because we believe, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Shai, that we are of the elect, and we believe the prophecy that says that the elect shall have victory over the beast, over his image, and over the mark, okay? You got to believe that, okay? You got to believe, that, the scriptures say that, my servant shall eat, but ye shall go hungry. You have to believe that, okay? You have to have faith in the words of Yahweh Shem Shai. The scriptures say in, what's that? Romans, the 15th chapter. All right, this is Romans chapter 15 and verse 4. It says, for whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope. Okay? So the things that are written aforetime were written for our learning, man. All right, when you read the words of Yahweh Shem Shai, when you read the experiences of the prophets, before us, all right, which we are them coming back. And that's also, you got to believe that by faith, beginning with elder apostles on down, okay, to the other apostles and elders and brothers of Great Millstone. You have to understand that, the things that are written in these scriptures are to give us hope in these last days. Okay, we're supposed to be reflecting on what's written and understand that the same way that prophets and the men of the Lord were delivered in times of old, all right, it's going to excel in a major way in these last days because we need more help. Okay, in this day and age right now, all right, the way the wicked have got things, concerning this technology and, the increase of information, mentioning Daniel's the 12th chapter. Hey, we need help. Okay, because these devils, all right, like it tells us in Revelation 12 and 12, they're coming down with great wrath. Okay, so we need Yahweh Shem Shai now more than ever. So best believe, the Lord is going to show himself in these last days. All right, and he's going to show out, for his elect. But again, you have to have faith and you have to have belief in that, man. And that's why the scriptures say in Isaiah 33 and 6, wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times and strength of salvation. All right. That's why we're going all out in these last days concerning preaching the word, concerning, bringing out these articles and bringing out this information so you can stay in tune with what's happening in real time. Okay. We are spiritual, news forecasters in these last days, man. This is our job. Okay. So again, it says, Neuralink will start high-volume production of brain-computer interface devices this year. It says the startup, co-founded by Musk in 2016, is developing technology that enables people to control computers using an implanted CHIP. Okay? It's all about these implants, all right? They've warned you on the White House website concerning their intent for 2026, so there's no excuse, all right? At this point, it's getting to the point where it's not even a thing of faith, all right? It's getting to the point, it's becoming so blatant and the Lord is manifesting it, so quickly that it's a thing of seeing is believing, okay? But those that, had faith, from the jump are going to be rewarded greatly, all right, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Shai, because the Lord likes a faithful servant, okay? So it says its initial focus is on helping patients with severe neurological conditions such as Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, paralysis, or sight impairment to communicate and regain independence, which they always, start off with the disabled and those that have, particular ailment. That's always, the gateway, so to speak, okay, is that it's going to benefit those that are, impaired or disabled, so on and so forth. But there's a deeper and darker agenda. It says, but Musk has also said that Neuralink's CHIPs could be used to meld human consciousness with artificial intelligence, okay? And ultimately, when you really go into, the workings of transhumanism and their intent, they're trying to, replace the presence, all right, and the coding, in the spirit, if you will, of Yahweh Shem Shai, okay? They want to have you, created and made in their image, their AI image. And they want to eradicate, belief. They want to eradicate faith. They want to eradicate, the notion of a higher power upon the earth. They want to completely, get rid of that and set themselves up, as powers, like it tells us in the book of Thessalonians. Okay, that's the agenda. All right, and they want to, try and, put your so-called consciousness, on disc. Similar to that film, I think it was Lawnmower Man, if I'm not mistaken. All right, they want to be able to, put the essence of a man or a woman, in digital form. All right, so they can live forever that way. Which means that, you don't have to go, before the throne of the Heavenly Father. Okay? They want full control, which is foolish. And even, saying it, I had to laugh because this is the mad mentality and mind state of the wicked. They are severely deceived, all right, in their wickedness, man. All right? Because they actually think, they can overcome Yahweh Shem Yahushai. What do you think the Space Force is all about? What do you think, all of this money that they're putting into the Space Force is all about? They're trying to literally fight Yahweh Shem Yahushai upon his return. 2 Ezra 13. Okay? That's what they're trying to do. But they're not going to win. All right? They're not going to be successful, in their demonic endeavors. All right? It tells us in the book of Job that the Lord is going to disappoint the devices of the crafty. And that's exactly what's going to happen, man. They're going to be confounded in their wickedness. It says, let's read a little bit more. It says, Musk also said in Thursday's X post that the medical process to implant the CHIPs will move to a streamlined, almost entirely automated surgical procedure in 2026. The device first will go through the dura and through outer membrane that protects the brain and spinal cord without the need to remove it. Okay? So in other words, they're saying it's going to be a safe, quick, and effective way, to put this CHIP within yourself. And it's going to have to be. All right? Because many people are going to be getting it. But as we also know, many people are going to be subject to that grievous sore. All right? Because it's pure radiation. All right? So that grievous sore, that prophecy is going to come to pass soon. Don't forget that prophecy is going to come to pass as well. All right. The prophecy of people getting the mark, and then the prophecy of people actually, receiving that grievous, sore as a result of having that technology within themselves, man. Okay. It says, the Neuralink CHIP is about the size of a coin. From the CHIP, an array of thin threads, each roughly 20 times thinner than a human hair, fan out into the patient's brain. Okay? So, hey, we're here. All right? We're at that point where the MOTB, this prophecy is coming to life, man. So, Fawadi Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, Bahasham Makar Kodash, and Lord willing, we out here this year, man. Shalom.